Flosstube friends. I'm Tanya the Starlit Stitcher. Welcome to my channel where I talk about and share my cross stitch stuff with you. I have so much to share with you this week. I'm very excited about how much that I got done. But first I'm going to do a little bit of updates. We did end up getting that storm last Wednesday that I was talking about, and it did turn into ice overnight. So my little had a snow day on Thursday. So we had a packet of homework type stuff that the school had sent home the week before. So it had about 5 days of work in it. So we just worked on 1 day. And then when they went back to school Friday, that all got turned in. Now, that will be so at the end of the year, they don't have to make up for excessive snow days or whatever. So that went all pretty well. And what else did we do? My husband took me out for breakfast on Saturday morning. That was fun. And then after that, we went to Hobby Lobby. Now, I'm pretty sure everyone's got the same experience with Hobby Lobby as I do. It's a dangerous place to go, just like Etsy, just like Instagram apparently for me. And this is what he had to say about that. He said that they really need to make a husband room for these places. Now, in all fairness, that doesn't have anything to do with it being a crafty type store or anything like that. He says that basically in general, any place that I go and shop at that, you know, I like to look at stuff. I can't just go and get the one thing that I'm actually going for. It doesn't matter how many times that I've been in that store. I want to look around at all the things. That's just the way that I am. If there's a bargain on something that I happen to need, I want to find it, you know? So that philosophy for him applies to places like Kohl's, Target, Hobby Lobby, Walmart sometimes. Okay, though admittedly I'm not that bad about Walmart, because when we go to Walmart I want to get the stuff and I want to get out. Okay, that's just how it is. But so anyhow, we was there and I'm looking at all the stuff because I'm looking at, you know, trying to get some inspiration on finishing items and stuff like that, because I'm hoping to have a few more finishes in February. So we were in there like an hour and a half maybe, and then so I picked out some stuff. I finally got done, and I also picked up some flosses for the Fleamarket basket sale, because I'm very bad and I found myself getting sucked into it. Now, I've never actually participated in a SAL before. That stands for a stitch along, but I've kind of always wanted to do one. And now that I've been doing these Flosstube videos and getting more involved with Instagram, I kind of feel a lot more part of the cross stitch community than I was before as just a viewer. And so I want to like literally be stitching these things at the same time as other people are, because I know I like the thing, but usually I'll hang on to it and then I'll go back and do it after all the stitches. It's like, I know I like it. Why don't I just stitch it at the same time as everybody else is? Now, on the flea market baskets, I'm not even sure why I like it as much as I do, actually, to be honest. I just am really drawn by the colors. Now, let me go ahead and pull out this flosses. I don't have my chart yet, and I don't have my fabric yet, because I'm still waiting on those to come in. But I did get my flosses while I was there at Hobby Lobby, because, you know, obviously I need them. They had kind of sold out of that special pack that they had on Fat Quarter Shop, and so that was kind of the whole reason we went to Hobby Lobby in the first place, was so I could, you know, grab these. I mean, look at, they're so, these colors all together, like Lori Holt does an amazing job with color coordination. I don't know. I've been liking the way that looks for a while, and so I just kind of, you know, this is the year of trying new things, so getting into a couple of stitch alongs is going to be one of those new things. So this is waiting for when my tartan fabric are gonna come. They've been shipped. They're supposed to get here like Friday, so we'll see how that goes. I don't know if I'm gonna get to starting it this week. Obviously, I've got some catching up to do since I'm getting in kind of late, but that's okay. And then along similar lines, I decided to also do the Nutcracker Village SAL. Oh, I was trying really hard to resist this one, but I really liked the Farmhouse Christmas. I'm really into the Little House Needleworks series and Country Cottage Needleworks series and things like that. I just really like the way that those designs look. And I also really like the Nutcracker and Christmas, and so the whole thing, that just kind of sucked me in. But what really got me into, I need to get into this like right now before I fall too far behind, is because I already had glitter fabric in my stash. Now, I've never stitched on linen before. The Nutcracker Village calls for a 32 count raw silver linen, which I don't have, and I've never stitched on linen before, and I wasn't really sure, but I'm trying to pull out these patterns, and I feel like I'm pulling out everything in this bag except for the patterns that I'm trying to actually get for you. Now, two of the blocks are out. There's this one, Nutcracker Village. Glare is going to be horrible today. Sorry, guys. This block goes in the middle for Nutcracker Village. And then the second block is this one. And so it's going to go in the upper right corner. I'm not sure if I'm holding this right because my camera's kind of backwards for me. So hopefully I'm holding this right. I don't know. Maybe. But so I decided to go ahead and get into that too. Now, also, obviously, I'm playing catch up with these as well, but I have figured out a little extra block of time for stitching that I didn't previously have. A little bit more about that later, maybe, if I can remember. But so not only did I have a piece of glittery fabric in my stash already, I also happen to have a lot of the fancy flosses already too in my stash. So I didn't have to actually buy all that much to get prepped for this. Like, I have some leftover DMCs, and I had some leftover, and then I had to buy a few. I didn't have everything, but I want to show you this fabric. Now, I just have a little start on this yesterday, so try not to laugh as you look at my little tiny start here, but hey. What this is it's an 18 count Aida, and what it's called is, what do they call it? Opalescent raw linen. Which sounds kind of weird because it's not a linen, it's an Aida, but that's what they call the color, is opalescent raw linen. And this is an 18 count. I got it off of 123 Stitch some time ago because I didn't know if and when I'd ever want to stitch on a glittery fabric that was this color. But I wanted to show this to you guys because maybe there's other stitchers out there like me that haven't stitched on linen before, or maybe they're not sure if they can stitch on the linen with the sparklies in it, because it does make the holes harder to see when you're working with the opalescentness, so to speak. I'll try and block this in there, sort of. Now, I first started stitching this with one thread, but I did end up pulling it out because I felt like I couldn't see it good enough. Now, normally on an 18 count Aida, I kind of feel like most of the time one thread is enough, but with this particular piece, it really needed the two, I thought. So I pulled it out, started over, and went with two. It's always better to figure that out in the beginning anyways. But let's see, another thing about this is because it's Aida, it is more of that stiffer kind of crunchy, scratchy sort of feeling kind of Aida. So I don't know. It's just something to think about if you want to have the sparkly fabric and either feeling a little bit nervous about the linen, or maybe you can't find the linen in stock, because I know it's always in high demand. It seems to be sold out a lot of the time. But I feel like this is a good option to go if you want to have, you know, a really, I don't know if it's the same color because I've never seen the linen next to it to compare, but it looks pretty close to me to what's called for. I feel like I rambled way longer than I should have on that, but I'm excited about this. And I know that some people really struggle with the linen and opalescent and all of that, so maybe this Aida option will work for some other people besides just me. Okay, I'm gonna move on now. Oh, I lied. I'm not moving on yet. Okay, so you know how that middle block that says Nutcracker Village, it will go around in here. I decided that maybe I'm not gonna try and catch up with that right away. Mostly because I don't trust myself to put it in the right spot. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I may wait until, you know, I do this block, that block, and then that block, and then put it. I don't know. I'm kind of worried about putting it in the wrong spot and basically kind of making it unfudgeable with everything. I don't know. We'll think about that. We're just gonna have to see how it goes. In the meantime, that is my little baby start there. We haven't even made it all the way through January yet, and I'm already on Santa's naughty list, people. Yeah. Okay, that being said, as I've previously said earlier, I am extremely pleased with my progress on everything that I touched this week. Like I was on fire. Like I wish every week went as well as this week did with my stitching. Okay, so let me start with the Heaven and Earth design first. Okay, for those that are new, this is the Haid that I'm working on. It's called Unicorn Poop for Sale, and this is what it will look like once it's done. Super cute. Going in my kid's bathroom when we get into our house and it's all done and all that fun stuff. But I made it into the blue of the rainbow this week. I finished out this green here and then started going down through here. This is actually going quicker than I thought. It's got 3 colors going. You guys are actually seeing me park on a Haid for the first time, I think, because normally I have everything all cleaned up. See, that's the thing. I never really actually go with the same strategy every time that I'm stitching something. If I feel like I need to park, then I'll park. If I don't, then I don't. And then same thing with like this. I don't normally stitch in a diagonal, but because the design is the way that it is, it lends itself really well to being stitched diagonally right now. I don't go like, you know, 1 stitch at a time diagonally. I'm going, you know, across and then back, next row, across and then back, and then across and then back. So I just go with whatever seems to work best for whatever it is that I happen to be working on at the time. And so yeah. Now this week on this, when I get to working on it again on Saturday, my goal is to complete this strip of blue. I think that the next one will also be another blue, but the next section has only 1 color in it with the way that I've been breaking it down. So maybe if I have a really good uninterrupting stitching time, you guys know what I mean. I'm all tongue-tied today. I might be able to go all the way down with that next one, but we'll see. I feel like I did well with this week last week. With this last week on Saturday, because like I said, I spent half my morning, not half my morning, kind of more like half my day, because we did breakfast, then we went over to Hobby Lobby, and then we went and did like our normal groceries and other errands and all that kind of fun stuff. So I really more like got like half the day in on that, and so we'll see if anything more happens this week. everything ends up in all the places where it doesn't go. It's kind of magical how that happens, isn't it? Okay, now the next one that I worked on was Long May She Wave. I made awesome progress on this week. I am so in love with how it's looking. And there we go there. Now the last time you guys saw this, I basically had the blue and the flag done, maybe a tiny bit of the stripes and, you know, this green down the side and the flagpole a little bit. I really should have prepared this on a little clippy board thingy. But yeah, so I finished the wavy part of the flag and all the way across the top, and I've gone down here on the side a little bit. Oops. So I'm extremely pleased with how much that I got done on this. And there we go. There we go on that. And oops, just a second, I dropped this one. That was almost completely out of my reach. The next one was The Curious Mermaid by Autumn Lane Stitchery. Now I felt like I redeemed myself on her this week because she wasn't intended to be kind of like a redheaded stepchild, like, you know. But with her not actually being on my list to stitch this month, I kind of felt like, you know, other priorities needed to be taken when I didn't, you know, when my stitch time was not as high as usual with, yeah. But now last time you saw her, she had hardly any of her hair done up here. And so I took a day and I stitched on her this week, however you want to call it, since my last video. And all of this got put in. Now, if you will see, I did change her chest area a bit. She was looking a little too perky for me to not feel weird about putting her in my girls' room. So I kind of modified that a little bit. Let me get my pointy here. Well, actually, first, let me hold this closer so you can see what the original was like. Okay, so you see there? She was, I mean, I know it's been a bit frosty and all lately, but we kind of want to make it a little bit more PG for my girls. Okay, let me get my pointy here. It was relatively simple what I did. Okay, so all I did was I took off 2 stitches. There's a stitch that would go right there and a stitch that would go right there. So there and there. All I did was just not stitch them. I don't know if it necessarily looks like she's wearing seashells, but at least she's not poking out like an opera singer or anything anymore. So we're gonna roll with it. And then on this, the Petite Treasure Braid, which is the called for, it does call for the treasure braid. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to use 1 or 2. I haven't actually worked with the treasure braid before, and the chart didn't say whether you were supposed to use 1 strand or 2. I'm assuming you were supposed to use only 1 because the called for fabric is a 32 count fabric. But of course that's not what I used. I went to a 28 count fabric. But when I put in 1 and it looked really sparse to me. And so I pulled it out and I went ahead and I put 2. Which of course that was not all that fun to work with, but it wasn't too bad. I made it through there and I don't think they look too messy. So she's got some formation going, a little bit of bling going, and I definitely feel much happier about this and how much that I got done in that one day than how I'd been doing on her before. Like, that was a really good stitch day for me on her. And now Halloween Quaker had 2 days this week. 2 days? Yeah. Halloween Quaker had 2 days because Long May She Wave had 3 days. Now this is by Lillys Studio, and this is how it will look when it's done. Now my fabric is different. Oops. Need to show you the front and not the back. I mean, I'm sure some people would want to see the back too, but that's not what I was trying to go for right now. But this is how this is going. I feel like I did a lot of progress on this week, because last week I had the witch done, I had this orange swirly thingy, and the HAP in Happy done. So this week I finished out the Happy Halloween, this other swirly here, basically everything around the witch from, you know, I had this done already, so the bats, this, and all the way around, all of that got done this week. And that was 2 days worth of stitching. I'm almost done with that second page. And so, just really, really good. I'm super happy with it. Like, I feel like I got a lot done this week, guys. Like, I can't even explain how happy that I am with how much that I got done last week, because I even got a decent amount done on the American Deer this week too. And let me pull out the picture real quick, because some people haven't seen it before. This is an approximation of what it will look like once it's done. I have a lot less color, so it's just an approximation. It's not going to look exactly like that, but here is where I'm at on American Deer this week. This is an 11 count stamped fabric piece. I pull this out probably only 2 or 3 times a week in the evenings when I want to stitch, but I can't see for Jack Diddley here in the camper, and so the bigger size Ada with the printed on the fabric, it just makes it a lot easier for me to get my stitching fix in when I just can't do my other stuff. But I filled in the remainder of what I had going over here. Now you see these green spots that are left there? That's because I ran out of that color thread. Now they do have DMC numbers that they put on the chart and all that, so if you run out you can go and get more. I do have the color that I need for that in my stash. It's going to be coming out when I get to stitching on that project this year. Obviously I'm going to be on this for a while, so I'm not really worried about that. It's just 6 stitches. Whenever I break out that skein, I'll pull out that color, put those in, and that's the last of that color that I need. Now, on 11 count Ada, they usually say to use 3 threads. Well, this is a full coverage piece, so I want to have good coverage. So I like to use 4 threads, and so that would be why I ran out. So if you do these and only use 3 threads like you're supposed to, you'll most likely be fine and not have to do that. So far, that's the only color. I have like 2 or 3 other colors that are coming pretty close on. There's not going to be any left of that color left to stitch, and those other colors are doing just fine. So far, it doesn't look like I'm going to be running out of any other things. So that's really not bad. But anyhow, so I filled in that over there, and then I started coming back over here, and I did a little bit in the ear, and pretty much from, you know, this area here. So that was a pretty good chunk this week. I'm actually finally seeing the blue of what's going to be in that flag. My husband is seems to be asking more and more often, how's it going? How's it going? I kind of feel like, you know, once this is done and it's all washed and everything, I'm going to have to add strips of fabric up, at least up here to the top and along this side here, because, I mean, look at, they gave me like ½ an inch or something. Maybe 3/4 of an inch, but that's not going to work for when I go to frame it or whatever. But I think that it will look good matted in a frame. Look at it. Anyhow, I like it. Maybe not everybody's into the printed fabric kit type of stuff, but like I said, that's what I do when I can't see my other stuff. But I still want to stitch. So there's options, people. If you can't see, do what I do. I mean, you know, in a normal house with normal lighting, I don't have issues being able to stitch on what I want to stitch on when I want to stitch it on it, regardless of what time of day it is. It's just because we're here in the camper, it's just, I just can't do it. I'm just really limited. And those you know, the super strong lights and all of that, those can be kind of expensive, especially if I'm only in what's supposed to be a temporary situation. So I'm trying to not have to buy one of those unless I actually, you know, have no other option. Like, I'm sure at some point as I get older I may need to. Right now I don't feel like I do, because I've only had that issue here in the camper. And that's how I'm solving it for now. It's just, you know, going bigger, using the printed data kits and all of that. Okay, so let me go back to what I briefly touched on earlier in the video about how much stitching time that I was able to put in this week. It's because I've actually been able to sleep at night. Now, it isn't anything to do with like nightmares or anything like that. It's because I'm always freaking freezing. I'm always cold, okay? That's just how it is. It could be 75 degrees and I'll still, like, the hairs on my arm will still be sticking up because I'm cold all the time. My husband is the opposite of me. He's always hot. Okay, so in the back half of the camper, we've got the bed back there, and it's got 2 windows, kind of like right here, you know, the window at the headboard, and then on one side there's a window that goes out the side of the camper. Guess who was sleeping on the side of the bed that had both windows, you know, catty corner, this whole time? Me. And the windows of this camper are a bit drafty. And it's literally been frickin' freezing in here. So I'm always waking up shivering, even with like 5 blankets on. I'm constantly waking up. And so we had us kind of like a heated conversation the other night, because he goes, why do you keep tossing and turning? And like, it's not that cold in here. I'm just like, well, maybe since you're so hot all the time, why don't you go sleep next to this window that you've been making me sleep next to this whole time, knowing that I'm always frickin' cold? And he goes, fine, I'll sleep on that side of the bed then, since you just said something. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe other couples have these kinds of discussions with each other, but sometimes I feel like there are some things that maybe shouldn't have to be said. Like, I don't necessarily expect my husband to be telepathic, but I kind of felt like that shouldn't have been a rocket science type of situation either. Like, he knows I'm cold all the time, but he put me on the side of the bed that had that freaking drafty window and wondering why I can't sleep at night. So anyhow, so we switched sides of the bed. He's next to the window now, not having to do a fan at night, so that wasn't helpful. I'd be like, turn that freaking fan off, I'm freaking freezing. And he doesn't have to do that no more. So I've got my little heater over on my side, and he's got the drafty window over on his side. And I actually have been getting full nights of sleep like a normal human. How about that? So it's been easier for me to get up in the morning, which is where I've been able to pick up a little bit of extra city time, and that's how I'm going to be able to squeeze in the flea market basket sale and the Nutcracker Village sale. Maybe a little bit too much information for people about our little bed discussion on who sleeps where, but yeah. I'm going to let you guys go before I get rambling on and get more weird than it already has been for today. But stay tuned for next week, because I plan on doing a check-in on my goals for the year on how things are going. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. You can find me on Instagram at the Starlet Stitcher. I'll put that down below in the description box. And if you follow and your profile is set to public, so I can see what types of pictures that you have up, and you've got like crafty stuff, cross stitching, quilting, whatever that it is, I'll follow you back, because I want to watch that. I want to look at that stuff. Like, that stuff is so fun to look at. Now, if your profile is set to private, because I'm kind of new to Instagram, and my husband keeps warning me, it's like, be careful about how you navigate around Instagram. You may see things that you don't want to see, like gross stuff and things like that. And so I'm kind of trying to avoid any accidental viewing of the type of stuff that I definitely don't want to see. So yeah, if your profile is set to public and you're posting crafty type stuff like I do, then heck yeah, man, I'll follow you right back. So anyhow, strange video this kind of is. Stay tuned for next week. Checking in on how the yearly goals are, on what I want to get done. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Bye bye, guys.